Good morning. It's day, well, I don't know what day it is, but it's June 29th. And so we're all just, this is Get Back on Trail today. And we're all sitting around here having breakfast, one last breakfast together. There's my dad and Judy. And we walked up the restaurant here and we're reunited with Sparkles and Woot. They just showed up here too. We hadn't seen them since they left Kennedy Meadows ahead of us. So,
oh, here comes your buddy.
So they're going to spend a couple days. They're going to spend a couple days here in Mammoth, and then they're heading on up the trail. So I'm sure they'll catch up to us in a few days because they hike faster. So, but anyway, good to reunite with old friends and hear stories about their hike. So, anyway, back to breakfast. Well, sitting here at the Red Meadows campground with Dad, Judy, and Goldilocks. Just enjoying a nice, quiet little visit before these folks have to head back home, and we have to head out and hit the trail. So it's a beautiful location out here. A lot of other people sitting around, a few other hikers sitting around. I ran into Vader and Owl and Phoenix. They're kind of over that way, so we hadn't seen them since Kennedy Meadows. So they're one of those weird hiker things where you just run into people that you see, you know, hundreds of miles away, and then you bump into them again. So anyway, few more minutes of socialization and then time to get back on the road. All right, we're officially back on trail. We're at Red's Meadow, headed up towards Tuolumne Meadows, about 40 miles away, and I'm gonna try and make it there in 4 days. Get off trail, head into Lee Vining, where I guess we have to hitchhike to get there, to get resupplied, and probably end up spending the 4th of July there in Lee Vining, California. Yahoo! Since the last video, where, although I'm shooting this in the future, the last video probably was us getting off trail at Kearsarge Pass and heading into Bishop for a resupply. And so I'll discuss this probably over the next video, over this video and the next one. I don't want to just sit here and ramble for 20 minutes telling you everything that's happened in between. The one thing that everyone has questions about is the status of the family, Kronk, Sacagawea, and little Yzma. Unfortunately, Kronk did get confirmation that he does have a stress fracture in his right foot, and he is not going to be able to hike for, they told him, 6 weeks. Well, he's already been off trail for 2 weeks now, and so they've all gone back home to Washington State, and their plan is hopefully that he will recover, and that at the end of July, the end of the 6 weeks, he will be able to return to the trail. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed and really hope that that happens. We really enjoyed hiking with them all those miles, all those months, and really would love to be able to get together and finish off the trail with them. Other people on the trail, our friend Wooly, who we hiked on and off with for quite a long time. He got contacted by his former employer and they asked him to come back to work. Wooly worked in the healthcare field, so I don't think I need to explain why he's probably needed back at work. So Wooly, if you're watching these videos, you're still with us here in spirit. And we'll be thinking about you. Other hikers, Grateful. A lot of you guys know Grateful. He stayed in Lone Pine with the family, hoping that they would get back on the trail together. But when he learned that Kronk wouldn't be able to continue hiking, he got back on trail by himself, and he's somewhere behind us. I'm not sure exactly how far. And then finally, those crazy Canadians that we've been hiking with for a while, Spitfire and Whiskey Jack, they actually stayed over one extra day in stayed over one extra day in Mammoth Lakes, but they're going to be returning to the trail tomorrow up at Tuolumne Meadows. Tuolumne Meadows? Yeah, Tuolumne Meadows. Hard word to pronounce. They're going to take a shuttle bus from Mammoth to Tuolumne, so they're going to get on trail about 40 miles ahead of us. So I'm sure that at some point in the future we will catch up with them and be hiking as a group again. But it looks like for at least the next week, it's just going to be me and Goldilocks. More news to share, but I'll say that for another time. There's Devil's Postpile, National Monument. Pretty bizarre looking basalt columns. Frozen in time like that. Hey Goldie.
Hey Roadkill. You're back on trail.
Just made an interesting realization. We're out here on the trail, only, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 miles in at the most. But we've had a few short climbs, and I realized I'm not the least bit tired, not the least bit out of breath. And you could say some of it's conditioning, obviously, but I think it's because we're at about 8,000 feet right now, which is almost 3,000 feet lower than we had been hiking for the past week and a half. So I guess getting our bodies used to trying to breathe air up at 11,000, 12,000, even 13,000 feet, and then dropping down here to 8,000 feet, it's like I have an extra pair of lungs. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure it won't last, but I'll enjoy it while it will. Well, it's 5:30 in the afternoon now, and we've got some really dark, threatening clouds overhead. Well, darker than it looks like in the camera anyway. In fact, we've been getting kind of dripped on here for the past half hour, 45 minutes, but that could change to an outright thunderstorm and nothing flat. So we came across this little stream. We're going to go ahead and set up our camp here for the night. On the other side of the slug. There we go. Nice, relatively flat, smooth spot. Home for the evening. Good morning, everybody. It's June 30th, and we're just about ready to get on our way. See our packs behind us, all packed up and ready to get rolling. Been a nice bluebird day, not a cloud in the sky, but not super hot either, which is wonderful. So we're 33 miles from Tuolumne Meadows. We've got till Friday to get there, so no big rush. Should be an easy hike. And well, before we start, I guess I wanted to give some acknowledgement to some friends that won't be hiking this section with us. Kronk, Sacagawea, we really miss you guys. Want you to know we'll be thinking of you as we're hiking along, and really hope we'll be able to rejoin at some point in the future here. Hopefully by the end of July. And Wooly, I know you're watching. Really enjoyed hiking with you all those hundreds of miles. I know you chose to get off trail because you have a higher calling there with your healthcare profession, so good on you. We'll dedicate the rest of our hike to the time we spent with you. But speaking of hiking, I guess we had better get going. Coming up to a trail junction here. You can see there was a forest fire came through here at some point in the recent past. All the tree trunks are burnt black and leaves are all dead, or needles I should say. Yeah, burned it pretty good in here. Let's see, what's the sign say? Okay, there we go. JMT North, Minerat Lake, PCT North. So we go right. Well, the trail so far this morning has been beautiful. It's relatively flat and sandy and really easy hiking, but we're still making relatively slow progress. This is, we're near the Devil's Postpile Monument, and there's lots of day hikers out right now, and they all seem to be very intrigued by what we're doing, the PCT. Some are just, I mean, it's funny to see the look on some of these people's faces when they see your backpack and say, oh, well, how far are you hiking today? Or how far are you hiking, I should say. And we say, Canada. And they give you a look like you think they're pulling their leg. But then when they realize you're serious and you've already come all the way from Mexico, then almost without exception, they're super interested and want to hear all about your adventure and your equipment and everything. So it's kind of fun. A lot of people say they would love to do just this very thing if they could. So, and I remember being one of those people myself, watching YouTube and other people hiking it and feeling envious and wishing that someday I could do what they were doing. And lo and behold, here I am, June 30th, 2020 on the PCT. If I can do it, so can you. Well, we've been hiking for a few hours, so time for lunch. Okay, this will be fun.
There it is! The Bridge of Death!
And meanwhile, Chicken Little down there Hello everybody, we're just sitting down right now taking a quick break, having a little snack. Goldilocks, wherever she is, behind me there somewhere. Oh, there she is. Thought this would be a good chance to answer a question that's been on a lot of you guys' minds, for the past week at least, which is, how in the hell did we get from Kearsarge Pass, or Bishop, into Mammoth Lakes without going through all the country in between? Well, the obvious answer to that question is we ended up skipping about a 90-mile section of the trail. Why on earth did we do that? Well, two reasons. I'll start with the first one, which is that after doing Forester Pass and the next day doing Kearsarge Pass, that was a reality check for me. Up to this point, I've been telling myself, convinced myself, that despite some of my limitations, which I've made more than clear, you know, my age at 63, having had a heart bypass a couple of years ago, and most significantly, the significant impairment with my legs, I was not going to let those things keep me from doing a through hike of the PCT. But Forester Pass and Kearsarge Pass taught me different. And in short, they kicked my ass. And Goldilocks too. Early on, I talked about how old age has affected me as a hiker. And I said the number one thing that I've noticed is my recovery period. After a hard workout or a hard climb or whatever you want to call it, whereas when I was a younger man, get a good night's sleep, a good meal in me, bounce right up the next day and take off and do it again. Can't do it now. I need a lot more recovery. I need at least a full day to recover from a hard climb over a steep pass. And I just won't have that much time. I can't carry that much food. So the only logical thing to do was just to go ahead and skip that section of the trail and get on trail farther up, which ties it into the second explanation, and that's that many of you are probably aware that this year the PCT, or excuse me, the PCTA implemented a requirement that all through hikers had to get completely through the Sierras within 35 days. That's from Kennedy Meadows to Sonora Pass, a distance of over 300 miles. And obviously at the rate that we were hiking, and we were doing our best, at the rate we were hiking, there's no way we were going to come close to getting through the Sierras in that short of a time. And that's taking into account the injuries that one of our hiking party had, Kronk. We took 4 days in Lone Pine, hoping he would heal up and be able to rejoin us on the trail, so that set us back. But even without that, we just weren't hiking at a pace that was going to be able to allow us to get through in time. So again, skipping some of those miles was the only option we could available to us. I know I'm already in hot water with the PCTA because I'm hiking this year. They didn't want anybody to hike the PCT this year. And I did, we did, Goldie did. So I don't need to give them another excuse to be mad at me. So having said that, we skipped from Bishop, where we were going to do our resupply for that last section, and we jumped on a little shuttle bus, took us into Mammoth. My dad, hi Dad, drove up to Mammoth to spend the last couple of days with us before we got too far north for that to be possible. And then he dropped us off yesterday at Red's Meadow. And we're going to be continuing to hike north from here. It's possible that we may need to skip additional miles. We don't know that at this point, but for the time being, we're just going to keep trekking on north. We hope you'll stand by us. We hope you'll understand why we're not doing an actual 2,650 mile through hike. We're doing our best, and we hope that you'll still want to follow us on our journey. Well, we just reached our campsite for this evening, right here. Tent's not up, obviously, but I'm now going to proceed to do something that I've been waiting to do ever since we got into the Sierras. I am going to try to catch a fish. And first things first, I know if I don't show this to you guys, somebody's going to call me out on it. So yes, I do in fact have a valid 2020 California non-resident fisherman's license. So I am legal and I'm ready to go. So before I put it together, I thought I'd show you the little rod I have. This is a 5-piece, 5-foot compact rod made by Daiwa. Not a very expensive rod, but I didn't want to bring an expensive rod out here just to get broken. I actually bought it as part of a kit. Came with this reel, so Daiwa components. Daiwa's good stuff. And this little thing here is what I carry. This little pouch originally had microspikes in it. I found the empty pouch in a hiker box and thought it would be perfect for carrying my fishing reel. So let's get it together and get it rigged up. Okay, here we go. This is my little 5-foot spinning rod. Nothing fancy, but hopefully it'll do the trick. Hold on. You see anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's 5 tiny little trout, but oh well, it's fresh fish for the first time on the whole trip, so we'll get them on the grill and cook them up. I'm sure they'll be yummy. Okay, there they are on the grill. That makeshift grill is, well, first time I've ever used it, but it seems to be working. Not the best way to prepare fish, but we're hungry and good enough.